Hey, Book Baddie. Welcome to the Bound to Be Bad podcast.
A book club podcast where we discuss one book a season from the perspective of someone who's never read the book before.
And from the perspective of someone who has. This season we are so excited to be reading Iron Flame by Rebecca Yarros with you.
I'm Casper. My pronouns are they, she, and I'm the second year cadet.
And I'm Cierra. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm the wing leader.
This is part 1 of episode 1 of our Iron Flame coverage. Please be sure that you've read up to chapter 12 of Iron Flame before listening to this episode. Today, we'll be focusing on chapters 1 through 6, but spoilers for the entirety of Fourth Wing and up to chapter 12 of Iron Flame are bound to happen. So this is your formal spoiler warning.
As this is Casper's first read of the Empyrean series, spoilers for anything beyond chapter 12 of Iron Flame is not fair game. This podcast is run by adults who use adult language and talk about adult themes, so please be mindful of your surroundings.
These thoughts and opinions are expressly our own and by no means reflect those of the original author. Reading is a privilege, books are art, and art is subjective. That being said, we'd love for you to read along with us and share your respectful thoughts and opinions as well.
Want to send us a virtual hug? Please consider leaving us a 5-star review on Audible and Apple Podcasts. It means so much, and we'd love to read your lovely note on the pod. So let's be Book Baddie besties.
So, without further ado, prepare to join the revolution.
Holy new book, Batman. Welcome to our very first episode of our Iron Flame coverage. If you're new here, hi, we're happy to have you. Here's a brief breakdown of how this episode is about to go down. First and foremost, we're going to catch up, each of us taking turns sharing something we've been loving recently. Kaz will then summarize chapters 1 through 6 before we give our overall general thoughts. Then we'll dive into each chapter individually, saving our favorite quotes or moments and any predictions for the end of the 6-chapter discussion. Lastly, we'll get into our song dedication, where we each take turns explaining why we picked that song for each chapter. Songs that we'll compile into a public Spotify playlist for you, our fellow book baddies. Sound good? Well, even if it doesn't, let's dive in, shall we? So what are you into?
Yeah, so outside of reading Iron Flame, I haven't had a whole lot of hobby time, but I did play Sims a little bit because there is a new reward event that's happening. If you play The Sims 4, you'll know what I'm talking about, but basically you log in and do a quest. There's like a new quest every week for, I think it's like 6 weeks.
Okay.
And when you complete challenges on the quest, you get little like rewards, and then once the event is over, it's all gone. So you have to, it's their way of getting you to log in and spend time in their game, which I typically kind of hate, but it's The Sims and they're not complicated. So
and you love The Sims. You've always
and I
loved
love The Sims. I do really want the new expansion pack though, because a new expansion pack just dropped and it's fairies.
Oh.
And this is the first time in a long time I haven't been able to like buy one of the expansion packs right as it drops. So I'm a little bit sad.
Experiencing FOMO.
Yes.
I've actually played a little bit of games too. I haven't had a whole lot of time since starting the podcast. And I've talked about it, I think, on the podcast before because Dan was playing Claire Obscure Expedition 33. I'm totally butchering the beginning of that because it's French. But I started playing it because I was like watching playthroughs of it to the point where I'm just like, I gotta try it. And so then Dan was like trying to explain it to me, but it was like 2 a.m. and I was dead asleep and I was just like, I don't understand. But it was my first time like playing a game in like 3 years, a video game in 3 years. So it was kind of nice to like jump into it, and now I've got the bug and I want to play it again, but I don't have the time or capacity to. But I wanted to show off this birthday card Dan's aunt made for me.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know she knew about the podcast. And so I blocked out the name because she put her name on it.
Oh, that's so cute.
It's got somebody with dark hair and a little gray cat, like Ezio. And it says...
What does it say? Yeah.
It says, my aunt's podcast. And it says, thank you for joining us on this special day. And then it says, to wish Cierra a happy birthday. And it's like a handmade, like she made this for me. I will say I panicked a little bit because I was like, how did she find out about the podcast? Apparently Dan is kind of like the IT guy for his family. And so he was helping his aunt with a computer thing. And she asked about me. And so he told her that I started a podcast. And I was like, oh, good. Because I was worried about what you might have found out. What you may have heard through the podcast.
Oh,
as far as books, so I've started the third book in the Witchwalker series. I didn't realize it was a novella, even though it literally says it right on the cover, but she tiny. I had technically finished it in like 2 days, but I'm going through and doing my annotations because I'm obsessed with this series now. And it's all I can think about. I've been re-listening to the audiobooks too. Those are all the things I've kind of been into this week.
2 things I wanted to add. I am very excited that this next week I will be able to go visit my sister in Texas because I haven't seen her in a year. So next week I will be in Texas. I am excited. I'm gonna have a lot of fun. There'll be a lot of just laying on the beach and reading, which I'm very excited for.
Pictures or it didn't happen.
Oh, of course. Of course. And then the second thing I wanted to mention was I talked to Ash earlier this morning, my girlfriend, and she mentioned that her daughter Rowan is our biggest fan and loves listening to the podcast. And before anyone freaks out, because yes, the child is a child, child's father, Ash's husband, also listens to the podcast and is reading the book. So is sure to avoid any of the spicy bits. So she's not getting those parts. She's only getting the rest of it, the fantasy parts. But she asked if we could shout
Rowan.
her out. Hi, Rowan.
Tell me your parents were Thorn of Glass fans without telling me your parents were Thorn of Glass fans. Shall we get into the summary?
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty, take it away.
Alrighty, kids, buckle up. We begin. Violet wakes from her temporary coma at Ryerson House, where she has just discovered that her dead brother, Brennan, is actually still alive. And while he and Xaden attend an assembly meeting, Violet, Imogen, and Bodhi listen in from the doorway, which the assembly members are not too happy about. Afterwards, Violet is left alone with her brother to catch up, and they discuss how their evolution is going before visiting the dragons. Violet sees Andarna for the first time, and she has doubled in size, and her scales have turned black, not to mention her new adolescent attitude. The squad agrees to go back to Basgiath with a cover story. Once they're back, they all break off on their own missions, and Violet heads to Liam's room to save his letters. When she and Xaden meet back up, Violet demands total transparency from him, but he insists he has secrets that must still be kept. Violet is pissed, but no time for that now. Graduation is starting, which means it's showtime. The squad crash the party just as Xaden and Garrick's names are being read off the death roll. That's awkward. Xaden and Violet reveal their cover story. On their way to Athbean, they were ambushed by Griffin flyers, and Violet was fatally wounded. When they flew to the outpost to find help, they found it was deserted. It took them days to find someone to heal Violet, but once she was better, they flew right back home. Colonel Atos is outraged at what he knows to be a blatant lie, but can't prove it without outing his own secrets. And now Mama Sorengale is generally pissed. Their lie accepted and their lives saved. They rejoin formation, where Violet and Xaden make a very public showing of shaming Dane, assuring that he won't put his hands anywhere near Violet. After graduation, the party commences, and Violet catches up with her squad, who want to know all about what happened. Violet realizes just how difficult it's going to be to lie to her friends in order to keep them safe. Now who's the one keeping secrets? Xaden gets his orders that he's being sent to the front lines, and he and a less than sober Violet exchange heated goodbyes. Before Xaden leaves, however, they're greeted by Colonel Atos and his new lapdog, Major Varish, who make threats not only on their lives, but Mira's as well. Oh, and it turns out they'll only get to see each other once a week, because gods know they can't be given too much time to trade information. Bonded dragons be damned, I guess. Once they're alone again, Xaden and Violet make a show of continuing their goodbye while having a sneaky secret chat in their heads. Violet once again demands full disclosure or else, but Xaden insists that he can't do that, but he'll still be trying to get her back anyway. After he takes off, Rhiannon and the rest of the squad join Violet and share the good news and the bad news. Dane may have been promoted to wing leader, but Rhiannon also got promoted to squad leader. Yay!
So now let's get into our overall general thoughts. So comparatively with Fourth Wing, how did you feel these first couple of chapters were? Did you like them more or less than Fourth Wing?
I think I liked them a little bit more because
we jumping right in.
You jump right in. It gets right into the action. We get some of the answers that like we were waiting on. Granted, there are a shit ton of questions left unanswered, but we're getting some little bits of information. And yeah, I think it just picks right up from where the previous book left off, while also still being able to like briefly summarize some of the key points of what happened in the end of the book. Yeah, I think I really enjoyed it.
I was curious because Fourth Wing had to do so much to get readers to a point of, I guess, being there and in the story. But because Fourth Wing did so much work, I felt like that allowed readers to just, I guess, for lack of a better word, jump right in a way that Fourth Wing couldn't have possibly done because it was the first book in a series. It's got second child syndrome written all over it.
Yeah.
Did you have any other general thoughts before we dive into our first chapter?
I have a lot more predictions this time around. I feel like we're all the time getting more and more tiny little tidbits of information that are kind of helping paint a picture of the broad overall story. So I've got a lot of little theories.
I'm excited to hear them as we go. Do you have any that you'll share for these notes?
Yes.
Sweet.
Several.
Yeah, I'm excited. Then let's jump into chapter 1, shall we? So it's going to be a lot of me talking here for these first couple of pages, folks.
That's okay. I got popcorn.
So I wanted to bring up the epigraph here because there's a couple of different things I wanted to bring up. I want to be better this time around about keeping track of the timeline, especially because we jump right in, as we've said, into this book. But specifically, it says, in this, the 628th year of our unification. And it's also transcribed by Sorella Neilwart. If Eratia was burned 6 years ago, which we know it was, even within these chapters, I think they specify that happened 6 years ago. That would make this current year 234 AU, which is after unification. And also that last name seems real familiar. Does that mean Jasenia's like a scribe legacy?
Ooh.
Since her last name is Neilwart?
That's a good question.
I would like to know.
Could see it. I would also like to know.
Especially if that was also transcribed by somebody only 6 years in the past. I imagine they're still a scribe.
Mm-hmm. So I wonder, like, older sister, mom, cousin, aunt.
Tell me, Rebecca. And then to keep in track with me trying to pinpoint timelines here. So it says, I haven't eaten in 3 days since a not-so-mythological being stabbed me in the side with a poisoned blade that should have killed me. So the Battle of Ressen happened 3 days ago, according to this sentence. We know that the Battle of Ressen was on July 2nd because it was the day after Reunification Day. Reunification Day was July 1st. July 2nd, they woke up early that morning thinking that they had an enemy attack, but it was really war games.
Mm-hmm.
That same day, I think later, is when they made it to the Athbean outpost. Then they went into battle that same day. And so that would make, if that was 3 days ago, today, about July 6th-ish.
Yes. That makes sense to me.
Okay. It's contested with it possibly being the 5th from sources I've seen online, because I even looked up timelines. I was like, I'm not going to mess up this one. But then people were confused about it. So I was like, well, I'm going to go with the 6th. I only do this because we find out that Violet's birthday is in July, like mine.
Yeah.
It says, you're welcome, by the way, for the mending. Consider it a 21st birthday present. That's right. I slept right through my birthday. So that would put, if she slept through it, and she's been out for 3 days, her birthday is somewhere around July 3rd to July 5th. I like to think, knowing that Rebecca Yarros is a military brat, like grew up a military brat, married into a military family, I'd like to think she made Violet's birthday July 4th.
Mm-hmm. I can see it.
Yeah, me too. I have no proof of it, but I'm assuming.
Yes.
We just know it's around then. And then we got our first drinkies.
Drinkies!
So Violet's sitting alone in the kitchen after Brennan excused himself And she says, I swallow the remaining biscuit stuck in the back of my throat and lift my chin, determined not to ever sit and wait on my brother to return again. Drink up, Baddie. Alrighty, so after Violet leaves the kitchen to track down Brennan, she stumbles in on the assembly in meeting and listens in with Imogen and Bodhi. So Violet has a habit, especially in this book, but it starts now, where she just will nickname somebody and that's the name that sticks. She won't remember their actual name no matter how many times it's said in front of her. And I thought I would help break it down in case anybody was confused by some of these people. So specifically, and these are also all brand new people. They weren't introduced in Fourth Wing. But there's Hawknose, who we find out beforehand is Major Ferris, or at least that's what Xaden calls him. And because we know there's only 5 people there, it was a game for me of process of elimination. Because it was like, I've got names, or at least a nickname for everybody except for this person. And we know there's a Major Ferris somewhere. So I believe it's Hawknose. Then we find out Trissa, who never gets a nickname, but she has the raven hair. There's a silver beard, whose name is actually Felix. But Violet will proceed to call him Silverbeard. Then there's Battle Axe. We never find out a name for them, but I don't understand how somebody can be shaped like a battle axe.
Yeah.
Are they just very chesty for a very small person? Is that why they're... Or is it like to do with their face? They're like, well, Hawknose is taken.
Demeanor?
Yeah, maybe.
Like, damn, she got an attitude like a battle axe. I don't know.
I don't know either. I wish I did, though, because that's such an interesting way to describe somebody. Then there's also Suri, who also doesn't have a nickname, but she's got brunette hair with a silver streak in it. So I assume maybe she's older, or she just likes to have silver in her hair, like Violet, even though Violet's is a natural occurrence. And then somebody else who's mentioned within these couple of pages who is new is Viscount Takaris. And I just thought I'd bring him up because he was not mentioned at all in Fourth Wing. I looked him up. I was like, is this the first time we've heard about him? It is.
Keeping an eye on him.
So in the next couple of pages, turns out the assembly are talking about the cadets, and they start to argue once realizing that Violet, in particular, has been listening in.
Basically, they're talking in the assembly meeting. And Xaden shoots Brennan a look that I can't decipher, and I breathe deeply as it hits me. He probably knows my own brother better than I do, and he kept him from me. Of all the secrets he hid, that's the one I can't quite swallow. Ouch. Like, I get it, but... like, that must really hurt. Xaden likely knows Brennan better than you do. That would fucking hurt.
And I think it's a valid reasoning, because going through this book, we'll find Violet waffles quite a bit on reasons to be mad at Xaden, and she has a lot of valid points. He has a lot of valid points for having kept things from her. But I think a lot of the time, Violet will cling to something just because it makes her mad, and that's easier than accepting or really any other emotion.
Yeah.
So
Agreed.
I wanted to also highlight this one because I was like, look, this is a valid reason for her to be upset in preparation for later chapters.
In discussing, like, she kind of clings to things that make her angry just to be angry, even though they're like, she knows Xaden has valid points. She even thinks, it's my heart that won't fully let my head forgive Xaden. I don't know, when I was reading that, I was just like, so are you acknowledging that logically you understand why he did what he did, but you're being stubborn because of your emotions? Like, that's the way I kind of took it, of you can see the logic in this. You understand, to some extent, that he had to do this. But you still can't forgive him because he hurt your feelings.
Look, nobody's perfect. I mean, a favorite that I have immediately after this even talks about logic and emotion. Violet is a very emotional person. Her mom isn't a very emotional person, but has to keep it tamped down. Like, it all kind of tracks. They have similar signet abilities.
For sure.
I just think some people have a harder time thinking outside of their own emotions than other people, and other people are more logical. Violet is very much a emotional person, which is funny because she's known for being so smart and like book smart, but apparently not when it comes to the matters of the heart.
Apparently not.
Apparently not.
Apparently not. And of course, like, it's easier to sit back when you are a reader, and even as much as like you put yourself in the point of view. And I'm sure there are probably readers out there who are like totally on Violet's side, like completely justified in being angry. And, you know, Xaden should have told her everything. How straight her thought again. It just abruptly stopped.
It's all good. It might come back a little bit later. I'm sure we'll talk about it again.
It might. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's going to keep coming up.
We got another Lift My Chin. I highlighted this one because it was a 2-for-1 deal. I liked the writing of it, and as a drink up, baddies. But it says, who do they see? Lilith's daughter or Brennan's sister? I lift my chin because I'm both, and I feel like neither. Drink up.
I do really like that writing as well.
Also, I'm changing up the way I'm announcing how often something happens in tracking for the pod. I don't think I said anything about that earlier. I'm just going to say at the very end when we get to the last one that happens, how many times it's happened overall.
I also love as the assembly realizes that Imogen and Bodhi and Violet in particular are at the door listening, and they're not happy that Violet's listening. And Bodhi says to them, if you didn't want her to hear, you should have closed the door. And I'm just like, hello, sassy Bodhi. Welcome to the club. We love you.
Welcome, Bodhi. Welcome, Bodhi. Welcome, Bodhi.
Sassy, sassy boy. Sassy boy. Sassy, sassy boy.
We get more of him in these chapters than we ever really got in Fourth Wing, and I am here for it.
Same. Again, as the assembly is like arguing whether or not they can trust Violet because she's General Sorrengail's daughter, Imogen lets them know Xaden has already taken responsibility for her, as brutal of a custom as it may be. And it made me wonder if it means that like he's responsible for her the way he's responsible for the marked ones, how he took responsibility for them after the rebellion, and if that means that they are essentially keeping an eye on her the way Navarre's command is keeping an eye on the marked ones.
Ooh, interesting. So, like, you think the custom is specifically with Navarre as well?
I feel like it's probably more of a tierish custom, but potentially one that, like, Navarre accepted with Xaden taking responsibility for the marked ones.
Gotcha.
Because it benefits them, like, okay, so if he messes up, we get to kill all of them, kind of thing.
Yeah. So then, I guess I'm confused on how, if I'm understanding your theory correctly, with Navarre being tied into Xaden now taking responsibility for Violet, like, do you think that lumps her in with the other marked ones? And then if something were to happen, that she would then get killed as well? Or
So not exactly. I was thinking more like if the assembly is watching her the way the Navarre commanders are watching Xaden and the marked ones.
Gosh.
That like if she messes up, it is, you know, it's going to come down on Xaden. But at the same time, like, what good is that really? Because you can't afford to lose him, which means you also can't afford to lose her. Like, who are you threatening here? Well, they're not threatening, but, you know.
Arguing very heavily about.
Xaden, once again, like, lets the assembly know he is responsible for Violet. And he says, and if I'm not enough, there are not one, but 2 dragons who have already vouched for her integrity. And immediately my brain was like, ooh, but which 2? Because while it's, like, it would make the most sense that it's Tiernan and Darna, but Andarna's been asleep, right? So, like, was it Sigale? I like to think that it could be Sigale.
But also the way
she secretly loves Violet.
The way it's, I have always taken it as not necessarily that they've verbally talked to anybody once they've gotten into Erasure. It was more so like because they chose her at Threshing.
That's true. That is true.
Is how I always kind of took it.
I definitely could be taking it too literally.
Maybe. Who knows? That's the beauty of books and writing and the written language.
I just want Sigale and Violet to bond.
I do too. Especially as we like meet them again and like seeing the sass being more prevalent between Violet and Sigale later. It's so nice.
I love it. Of the assembly members so far, Felix, Silverbeard Man, is definitely my favorite because he seems the most rational. Because while the assembly is pointing out that Basically, the one secret that mattered for Violet to keep about Athbean ended up getting spoiled.
Stolen,
Yes. And Felix comes to her defense and says, through no fault of her own, the man nearest us with the gray beard, Felix, stands, blocking Surrey from my sight as he turns toward her. No first year could withstand a memory reader, especially when considered a friend. I'm like, yeah, this man's logical.
Mm-hmm.
I like him.
And not only logical, but I feel like he's fair-minded. Like, he's able to not take sides in a, it's us against Navarre. And by Navarre, I mean every single person who's ever possibly been a Navarrian citizen at one point in their life. Like some of these other people may.
Yeah.
Alrighty. I just needed to shout out Imogen and Bodhi here throughout the entirety of the assembly meeting because they never once leave Violet's side. Specifically, the line I highlighted was Imogen and Bodhi stay at my sides as everybody's pushing out of the meeting room. And honestly, they are nothing but loyal, and I'll take it even if it's just loyalty to Xaden. Like, even if they're just following his wishes, I feel like there's a real relationship starting to form between them because they all experienced massive trauma in Resin. And
trauma bonding for the win.
But also I think they all morally are kind of compatible since they all chose to fight in Resin. And so I think that also bonds people together is like, oh, we think the same, you know?
We have a common goal. We're on the same side.
Yeah. And also because Violet saved their asses for the most part in Fourth Wing, let's be honest. I'm wondering if a lot of their loyalty to Xaden and now like acceptance of Violet is them also maybe feeling some sort of like, you saved my life, I owe you, but I'm not going to put that onus on you.
So as everyone is leaving this assembly meeting, Violet starts to, follow them and walk out with Xaden. But he says, stay and talk to your brother. Who knows when you'll get another chance. I love seeing a supportive Xaden to be like, hey, you haven't seen your brother in forever. Like, go, this might be your last chance. Go talk to him. It was very sweet.
Yeah, it shows that he's putting her and her needs first because they also still haven't, outside of that one talk they had, they haven't settled anything yet. Alrighty, chapter 2. In these first 2 pages, Violet and Brennan begin to talk to each other, and Brennan reveals how he's still alive.
So yes, Brennan is alive, and this is a revelation, and Violet is thinking to herself, I'm so glad he's alive. That's all that should matter, but I can't forget the years he's let me grieve for him either. And like, totally understandable. If I found out that my dad was alive this whole time and just let me think that he was dead, I would be more than pissed.
Yeah.
Like, I understand that Brennan had reasons. I get it. But I feel like that is something that is a lot more difficult to like remove your emotions from when there's that much pain.
Oh, that'd be tricksy to deal with. So I had questions because now that we're in chapter 2, back in chapter 1, recap already. So Bodhi comes in like a writer from Basgaiath is here. And so Violet has a thought about, I think she says specifically how many writers are in this rebellion or something like that. And so here in chapter 2, when she asks if he knew, because he, being Brennan, describes how he felt after hearing that she had survived threshing. She says, you knew, and then thinks, he has sources at Basgaiath. And I'm like, is this just Violet being an unreliable narrator? Because Bodhi said as much in chapter 1. Or did that just like completely go over her head when he made that announcement that there was another writer there from Basgaiath? I mean, there's valid reasoning for her not picking up on it. Because I don't know when in the process of her waking up we start chapter 1. Like, is it the morning of her waking that she's sitting there, like, still trying to piece and puzzle everything together?
It is a lot of information to absorb.
Yeah. And I mean, finding out your brother is still alive. I can't imagine for 6 years how many questions would bubble up inside you to the point where, like, you wouldn't know which one to say first because you just had too many. But I point this out because I actually really love the style of writing. Like, I love unreliable narrators because it forces critical thinking and it allows the reader to then piece things together themselves. But I was wondering if this is just another instance of that. Maybe I'm just looking for her being an unreliable narrator. So I'm curious. Violet starts finally like laying into Brennan, and he holds his hands up, but we glimpse of Scar, and it's just glossed over. Nothing else is said about it. But specifically, the note reads, I glimpse a rune-shaped scar on his palm, before he grips the edge of the table. And then he goes into his story about Naelin. I'm just like, excuse me, rune-shaped scar? Why do you have a rune-shaped scar? And why is it on your palm? Also, why are we noticing it as you're talking about Naelin? Does this have something to do with how you came back?
Ooh, interesting.
I have questions, Rebecca.
These are great questions.
Thank you.
I would like to, like, is it a burn scar? Is it like, what? Because why is it shaped like that? Like, it could be a brand type of deal, like that kind of burn scar.
Like a knife?
Or if it's from a knife, like, was it carved into the shape of a rune, or did whatever like puncture him in the shape of a rune? And if so, what was in the shape of a rune that punctured him? I got a lot of autistic questions. That like details that probably don't really matter overall, but like I am trying to visualize here, Rebecca.
If we ever get the show, or I can't remember if this one was supposed to be a show or a movie, Rebecca announced another one of her books being made into a movie. This is like the 5th of their books being adapted
Well, damn.
at the moment. So I can't remember. But if we ever get some sort of visual representation of this series in an official capacity, I want to see it and what they took it as.
Shame.
Alrighty, and in these next 2 pages, tensions rise as the conversation becomes too painful and veers toward the rebellion instead. So, continuing on in Brennan and Violet's talking specifically about venin and how they are created, Violet asks, where are they making them? Do you mean hatching them? Making, I repeat. Don't you remember the fables Dad used to read to us? They said wyvern are created by venin. They channel power into wyvern. I think that's why riderless ones died when I killed their dark wielders. Their source of power was gone. And the revolution's lack of information is so scary. Especially when we find out that Brennan estimates they've only got 6 months.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, maybe work on information and not just getting weapons. But also,
right?
Hello, purpose. It's nice to see you. Because now we know why what Violet's role is going to be in the revolution. Which honestly is a perfect role for her, since she clearly loves knowledge and is constantly seeking it out.
True.
So.
And is very, very intelligent. And as we'll come to see, has like specialized knowledge about certain things that most people don't. That's pretty cool. It's pretty useful. Just saying.
So we get mention of a specific box that one Garrick Tavis found, which we had first heard about in that chapter from Xaden's POV. After Violet first wakes up and he walks out into the hallway, he's talking to, I think, a couple of people. It's like Bodhi and Garrick. And I think in his internal monologue, he talks about an iron box that Garrick's dragon found. It says, we think the iron box Garrick Tavis found at Resin is some kind of lure, but we had to destroy it before we could fully investigate. A box like it was found in Jana, already smashed. But the craftsmanship is Navarian. Thoughts on Navar's involvement? Because if they think it's a lure, that makes me think a little bit less, because I was very on the train of Colonel Atos is working with Venin, and so he like planned this whole attack. But if he had to get a lure to get the Wyvern and Venin there, it shows that maybe Navar thinks they can, or at least Colonel Atos specifically, thought he could use them as unwilling participants. Like they just show up because they sense this lure, whatever the hell it is, and then because they see Venin, they know that, oh, these cadets are going to attack the Venin. They can't not. It's in their very nature to defend the defenseless. And so is it like, I want to know everybody's involvement. Essentially, like, how deep is Navar in cahoots with the Venin? Or is it just like everybody's kind of using each other in multiple ways to their best advantage without the other's knowledge or consent? Alrighty, so in these next couple of pages. Turns out the Revolution knows very little, and they're exposed outside of the wards. But this sparks an idea for Violet. So, Violet, I guess, reveals that there was a sage there, which there were so many different Venin who could have been whoever the sage was, and she just kind of assumes that, yeah, that person was definitely a sage in this conversation with Brennan. But as she reveals this to him, he's like, they're teaching each other? Like, they've set up some sort of school for Venin? Fucking great. And my note is just, I mean, why not? There's a dragon riding school. We just learned about a griffin riding school. Equal education rights for all. I think it's funny. So as she's learning, I think earlier in this chapter, the time frames of what they think they've got left. Felix thinks a year. Brennan thinks 6 months. And so Violet thinks something along the lines of, Mom always said that Brennan was a brilliant strategist, so I'm taking his bet. I'm just like, so you're just going off of your mother's assumption? You don't even know for a fact that he's a brilliant strategist? And so, like, what if Brennan wasn't really that smart and he was just Mama's favorite? Like, I think
clearly
Brennan
doesn't put an emphasis on knowledge.
That's not to say that he is a dumb character. In general, I don't really think Rebecca Yarros makes dumb characters. Everybody seems very freaking intelligent. Like, everybody knows 3 different fucking languages.
Mm-hmm.
And,
like, yeah, everyone seems very capable.
yes. And so I'm not saying he's incapable. I'm just saying Brennan is a Sorengale. And so I think he's maybe somebody who's led by emotion over logic most of the time. And especially when later this chapter they go out to see the dragons, his response to anything that has to do with Lilith is just instant anger and bitterness. And so I don't foresee logic being his dominant leading force over emotion, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, for sure. And with Violet comparing their revolution to the rebellion and pointing out, like, they were destroyed in under a year. Essentially, what makes you think that you guys are doing better? And Brennan insists, like, we learned from their mistakes. We are not attacking Navarre. We're not declaring independence. We're in hiding. We have a plan. And his plan is thus. Something killed off the Venin 600 years ago during the Great War, and we're actively searching for that weapon. Forging the daggers will keep us in the fight long enough to find it, as long as we can get that luminary. We might not be ready now, but we will be once Navarre catches on. And I'm just like, you gonna do all this in 6 months? You're gonna figure out what it was that killed off the Venin 600 years ago, as you're already searching for it. You still gotta find it. You don't even know what it is.
You're assuming it's a weapon.
You're assuming it's a weapon. And you're also assuming that you're going to be able to get a luminary in order to make this weapon or a weapon, and that the revolution is acknowledging that y'all's forces are not ready right now to go up against Navarre if they should be found out. But you will be within 6 months. That's a lot to expect when you have such small numbers in a very short time frame.
I think a lot of it is also him trying to comfort Violet, because I think he can see her spiraling. Like, this is the point where she starts to be like, I already lost you in the fight, like towards the end of their fight. And I think he's starting to see, like, oh, emotions are brimming again. How can I best inform her and also comfort her? And so I think he's putting a lot of extra flavor on the situation to make it seem like it's not as bad, or like they know what they're doing when they don't.
They do not. No. Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't think that would bring me comfort. I think that's just a laundry list of things. You still have nothing, half-baked plans.
Oh, fair. And I don't think it gives Violet comfort either, but if there's a 6-year age gap between her and Mira, I don't know what the age gap is between her and Brennan, so I think there's a bit of that, like, I haven't been in your life for 6 years and I'm significantly older than you. There's that barrier of, like, I don't know how to best be here for you in the situation. Alrighty, so in these next couple of pages, Violet's fears of losing her newly found brother boil to the surface when she agrees she shouldn't learn anything else until she can better shield. So then Violet and Brennan walk out to the valley to meet the dragons, where Violet gets her first real look at Indarna since Resson. So Violet's in her feels, and not just about Brennan. She starts to think about Xaden, and I had thoughts about some of what Violet says here. But it says, turns out falling in love with somebody only brings that blissful high all the poets talk about if they love you back. And if they keep secrets that jeopardize everyone and everything you hold dear, love doesn't even have the decency to die. It just transforms into abject misery. That's what this ache in my chest is. Misery. I'm like, this is so dramatic. He can love you and withhold information from you. Those things aren't mutually exclusive. This is self-inflicted misery. Calm down. Alrighty, so these next couple of pages, Violet questions Taryn about Andarna's new state until Xaden and crew show up, and the debate over going back to Basgiath centers around General Sorengale.
Okay, so she sees Andarna. Andarna is huge, and also her scales are black. And Violet is suspicious that maybe she is actually Taryn and Sigil's prodigy. Progeny, thank you. That's the right word.
I was like, oh, she's very smart. She's a child prodigy.
Yes. I mean, that too. But Taryn, reassures her, no. Black dragons are rare, but not unheard of. And Violet counters, and I happen to bond to 2 of them. And I'm just wondering, if there are so few black dragons, what are the odds of that? I believe Taryn is telling the truth, but I can also see how that seems a little bit fishy. So I understand Vi not necessarily totally believing Taryn, but when he has already kept things from her, I can definitely see her being like, bitch, are you sure? Karen also goes on to elaborate that dragons choose what their tail is. He says tails are a matter of choice and need. And I'm just in my notes, I just put, give me more.
That's exactly how I just read it.
Dragon lore. Thank you. I'm so glad.
Same phrase. So that's wild. I thought you were just writing it, and then when I read it just now, I was like, oh yeah, the song. And so I was doing that in my head, and then you said it. That's fantastic.
Yep, that's what was going on in my brain. I'm like, oh my god, more dragon lore. Give it to me. Give me more.
These next couple of pages, the crew agrees to go back to Basgiath, and Andarna wakes. So they're talking about the merits of whether or not Lilith was in charge of, or knew, responsible, a cohort in the war games. And Violet says, turning to Brennan, I would bet my life that she didn't know what was waiting for us. Aya, who's somebody we didn't know the name of in Fourth Wing, says, you willing to bet all of ours too? Aya asks, clearly not convinced, looking at Imogen for support and not getting any. I had a couple thoughts on this. It's like, snarky, but valid from her standpoint. Okay, go ahead and bet your life, but my life is tied to yours now in this situation. Mm-hmm. Maybe think outside yourself. But B, I'd love that Imogen just not giving 2 fucks either way, either about Aya or if it's her standing by Violet's side because she believes in Violet or is trying to show moral support for Violet. Either way, I'm here for it. I just love that Imogen was just
no comment.
Yeah, what do you want me to say?
I had the same thoughts, the same 2 thoughts of damn, but also, yeah, for sure. And then, yeah, Imogen, is she on Violet's side here? Is this her kind of silent way of showing, not necessarily straight up showing support, but not playing along, so to speak?
Yeah. Well, further in later chapters, what's the chapter where they go running? And then she's like, we're not friends. It's in the total chapters we were supposed to have read. I was listening to that this morning just to make sure I had all the chapters down. And I was like, it's become a game for me this go around to see what the friend status is of Imogen and Violet this book. And it's been fun to try.
I just want them to be besties.
I know, me too. Alrighty, so chapter 3. These first 2 pages, the crew land back at Basgiath, and we get our first peek at Andarna's teenage snart.
So Taryn is basically acknowledging and apologizing that he regrets keeping things from her over the last 9 months, but he will do his best to answer her questions. And Violet knows this, and she's thinking, I'm going to have to let it go. I know that. Taryn was bound by his mating bond to Sigale, so at least he had a reason to keep everything he did from me. And it's not like I can blame Andarna for being a kid who followed his lead. Xaden is another matter entirely, though. And I want to know why. Why is it another matter entirely? Why are those reasons you can understand and you, those are valid to you? But Xaden's totally valid reasons, why are those not good enough? It's because he hurt your feelings.
I also highlighted this, but it's because I wonder how much of Violet's anger being focused on Xaden is because she can't be angry or as angry as she wants to be at Tiernan and Darna. So he seems like the safe fist or the easiest outlet for her anger, because Lord knows she hasn't processed any of these feelings fully. All she has right now is anger. And so how close she is to the dragons, and because that's such like I think it's a more intimate bond in some ways than with another writer, regardless of if they were your significant other or not. She can justify having to let those go eventually, because clearly she still hasn't yet. Because Xaden falls in that sweet little like safe zone of, if I can't be mad at anything else, and he's the last thing that I can even remotely be mad at, I'm gonna 100% be mad at him.
He's kind of the scapegoat here.
Yes, that's the word I was looking for. So the next couple pages, we get a short game of telephone, and now Xaden and Violet are talking and walking across the flight field. They're doing a little walk and talk. They land at Basgaeth. First Taryn lands, then Sigale quickly after. Xaden catches up to her, and he's like, "You actually told Taryn to tell Sigale that you wanted to talk to me?" My note just says, honestly, it's a little unfair of y'all to exclude Andarna from this game of telephone. Like, Violet could have told Andarna to tell Taryn to tell Sigale to tell Xaden, and then everyone would have been included, but no, you had to exclude her. Rude.
This is so rude. I'm sure she's gonna love that too.
Yeah. She's a teenager now. She needs games.
She does. She needs to be entertained. So, as Violet and Xaden are now talking, she tells him that she has a question that she's been thinking about since Orisha. And he's like, "Oh my god, and you're only now telling me this?" And tells her, "Communication is not your strength, is it? Don't worry, we'll work on it along with your shielding." And she responds, "That's ironic coming from you." Like, honestly, Xaden, excuse me?
Mm-hmm.
Who are you to talk?
I have just a note to see another note later on, because I have this exact perfect example of when to bring this back up.
Mm-hmm. Ugh, just the audacity
Right?
of this man.
Alrighty. So in the next couple pages, the crew catches up to Xaden and Violet, and they split off on their independent missions. Violet and Xaden's mission is to grab a stack of letters from Liam's room, but they get caught by Rhiannon and Riddick on the way out. And my very first note is a drink up, Book Baddies. They've all converged on the Basgaeth's grounds. They're about to go off onto their separate missions, and Violet says, "Let's do it." I lift my chin. Drink up.
They not only run into Rhiannon, but they also run into someone else. And it says, "I walk into the hallway at the same moment Rhiannon, my closest friend in the quadrant, walks out of her room with Riddick, another of our squad mates." What were y'all doing in Rhiannon's room? Were y'all kissing?
Are we all doing more than kissing?
Were you doing the nasty?
I mean, we already know at least that Rhiannon and Sawyer have done something together.
But like Rhiannon mentions that she and Tara are like they're not like super together. They're kind of free to do whatever they want.
On a break, kind of?
Yeah, they're like on a kind of break because they haven't had a lot of time to be together. So like if Rhiannon's essentially a free agent, and you know.
So in the next couple of pages, Violet hands off the letters to Rhiannon for safekeeping before following Xaden to the rotunda to talk while waiting for the rest of the Resin crew. So I found it interesting which specific dragon pillar they hide behind. So they're leaving the dormitories. They're going towards the rotunda where the different dragon pillars are. It says, "The red dragon hides us from anyone who might pass through the space that connects all wings of the quadrant." I'm like, this is the same dragon pillar Violet and Dade hid behind her first day of classes last year. It's a fun little callback. Xaden gives advice, question mark, to Violet because she's asking how he can lie to his friends or to his loved ones. And he says, "If you can't lie to your friends, you keep your distance. Understand?" I was like, ugh. This is the worst advice. Xaden, why? And it makes me mad because she'll follow it. Or, like, she highly considers it and then, like, doesn't go to lunch with them later in these chapters. And Rhiannon, I think, even, like, questions her, like, "Are you mad at me?" I'm just like, girl, Why do you think Xaden knows what's right and what's wrong in this situation? Alrighty, so these next couple pages, Violet and Xaden talk while they're waiting for the rest of the crew, and it goes about as expected. Alrighty, so I had another track of lifting my chin. So when Violet points out that that was not what he promised, he starts to walk towards her, but it says, I lift my chin, daring him to touch me right now. Drink up, baddies. And then, this is the note that I had pointed out earlier when Xaden made that quip about communication not being Violet's strong suit. He then, when he's telling her that he can't tell her everything, says he nods like those words had been included in the original promise when we both know damn well they weren't. My note just says, what were you saying about communication skills, Xaden?
So it is go time. Graduation is about to start, and they got a show to do. And Violet whispers to herself, I will not die today, which we love to see. And I have definitely started tracking returning phrases and themes from the previous book. I want to note when those callbacks happen. I love a callback. I really do. I don't know what to tell you. I love a callback.
Alrighty, so chapter 4. We start off these first 2 pages. The crew crashes graduation and everyone is stunned. The grand display of lying begins. And we start off this chapter with our very last drinkies.
Drinkies.
As Violet's walking in, it says, I lift my chin. So drink up, Book Baddie.
I definitely didn't drink too early. You didn't see that? Shut up.
Well, I was going to cut it out for you, but then you mentioned it, so now I'm going to keep it in.
Okay.
So that is a total of 5 for Iron Flame so far. Quite a bit. So then the next couple of pages, Violet steps up and gives her part of the lie. So I just really love Violet's support system here. Clearly she must be kind of going out of her mind before she goes up to give her part of the lie. And so she gets support from both Taryn and then also Garrick. But Taryn says, I'm only behind the ridgeline. In comfort. And then Garrick whispers, breathe or you'll pass out. And while that comes off as really funny to me, and Garrick seems so gruff, she must either really showing signs of I'm about to hyperventilate, or I don't remember the last time I took in a breath for Garrick to notice something, because until now I don't think they've been very close, other than what Garrick has seen of her interactions with Xaden in public and helping to move furniture in and out of her room. But I like that he's just you doing okay there, bud? You're about to go on stage.
You're turning blue.
You're turning violet. Damn it.
I love it.
Just thought this line was really funny and a weird way to phrase it. As Violet's giving her version of the truth, it says that they stopped to water the dragons. And I was like they're plants? Make sure to water them every day, but don't overwater them and give them plenty of time in the sun.
Yes. I mean, it stands to reason. What works for plants works for dragons.
Works for dragons too.
Yeah. This
is the one part of the scenario that I don't think ever gets touched on, and it drives me nuts because of a lot of reasons. Let's just get into it, shall we? So Violet's still giving her side of the story. It says, but when we sought help in Athbin, we found the entire outpost deserted, and a note that wing leader Ryerson could choose to keep watch over a nearby village or race to Tuval. To which Xaden pulls out the missive from his pocket, and he's not sure what the destruction of a foreign village had to do with war games, but we didn't stick around to find out. So immediately then, Lilith rounds on Colonel Atos you cleared out an outpost for war games? And I'm why is no one focusing on the part where Atos orchestrated the destruction of a village? I get it's a foreign village, but that is still... that's just wild to me that that's overlooked in this scene.
Is this something that isn't out of the realm of possibility in previous war games? But and maybe just the emptying of the outpost is what was weird? I don't know. In general, why? How is he justifying emptying the outpost? How is he justifying that this village was under attack?
Well, it seems like he justifies just the outpost clearing out because he had dominion over war games this year. And then we never hear anything else about that. The destruction of the village gets completely dropped. And I don't see how. So Xaden throws it out there. I don't know how someone, because the option of choosing to go to the actual headquarters or staying to watch over a nearby village implicates that Atos did something to that village. Like, eventually that ties Atos to Venin and so on, unless somebody higher up than Atos is also involved. Alrighty, so these next 2 pages, after Lilith scolds Colonel Atos, he tries to turn his anger on Violet and Xaden, but can't. Once Violet and Xaden are dismissed, they set their sights on the other Atos. I went off in our notes on Colonel Atos. I do not like this man for a lot of reasons, but specifically, he glares at Violet when Violet essentially shows him, like, you're fucked and we know it and you can't do anything about it. So he turns and the first thing he says is, "You're such a disappointment, Violet." And I'm just going to read my note verbatim here. But it says, "Reason number 477 why I hate Colonel Atos. You were a close adult figure in Violet's life growing up, and I'm sure a sort of father figure after her dad passed, and you're gonna fucking pull this shit? Absolutely not. What a low fucking blow, my guy. Kindly rot in whatever ditch you make when I push you off the parapet, you conniving little weasel. And I hope your soul doesn't get commended to Malik."
Take that.
It just really, like, it. That one thing pissed me off. And I think it's because if I had been through everything Violet's been through, just to have somebody who I kind of viewed, not necessarily as a father figure, but somebody, like, on par with that, for him to turn around and be like, "You're such a disappointment," that would have been the last straw, you know? The one that broke the camel's back. I would not have handled it the way Violet does, which is apparently not at all. Oof. And then they set their sights on Dane. And this one thing about this boy infuriates me like nothing else about him. Violet straight up tells him not to touch her. And he's like, "You don't mean that, Vi. She told you. She means it. And even if she means it now and wouldn't mean it later, because she said it, you should respect it until she gives you further notice. Ya ass hat."
Dick. God damn it, Dane.
Trying to calm down a little bit here. These next couple of pages. Dane dealt with and done. Violet gets back in formation where her squad be squatting. The rest of graduation continues, and second squad is now officially second years. They put on this show to try to put Dane in his place. And the squad essentially just, you know, feels like commentating on it because why not? Nadine's like, "That was hot." Imogen's like, "Love triangles can get so fucking awkward, don't you think?" I was just like, Nadine is the reader is Nadine. So Imogen can't help herself from playing along if it's going to, like, cause discomfort, because why not? It's like the big red button. You can't not press it.
Right? And I like to believe that this is Imogen's, like, playful bullying, because they are totally friends now. They are. She can deny it all she wants, but I see it. I see the truth. They're besties.
I was just concerned with how this chapter ended. And I feel like a lot of these chapters in the beginning end very ominously. But it says Violet's taking kind of stock of all of the second years. Well, now second years, but first year she had started with. And she thinks the 5 of us are the only ones left standing. For now.
Dun, dun, dun.
My note's just like, cool. So you just doomed everyone. Thanks, Violet.
Oof, girl.
So chapter 5. First few pages, it's party time. And the squad is bantering until they start asking questions about Resin. I just really loved the way this chapter opened. It says, "Writers party as hard as we fight. And we fight pretty damned hard." Like, what a good intro to a chapter.
Especially about partying.
Yeah, like, kind of a very inconsequential scene in the grand scheme of everything. But that doesn't mean the intro has to be bad, you know?
Right? And it also like establishes a little bit more lore of like the culture of being a writer.
Yeah.
That like they work hard, they play harder. Okay. So while they are partying, Squad is excited about being second years and the privileges that entails. And they're discussing what they're most looking forward to about being a second year. And Riddick says that he is most looking forward to visiting the, I assume, nearby village of Shantara. Violet's inner monologue explains. The village that supplies Basgayath has always been open to second years from the healer quadrant, scribe quadrant, and infantry quadrant. But not ours. We've been banned for nearly a decade after a fight led to a local bar burning down. This very much gave me, like, Hogsmeade vibes from Harry Potter.
That Shantara is Hogsmeade, or that they are currently in Hogsmeade?
That Shantara is Hogsmeade.
Okay.
Because, like, when in Harry Potter, when they hit their third year, they're like, they have permission to go to Hogsmeade. And even though, like, the Riders Quadrant specifically might not be allowed, the rest of them are allowed once their second years to go to this village. Yeah, it just, there was a parallel there. Or at least that's what it reminded me of.
Interesting.
I have another one, I think, later in this chapter, too. So I'm starting to wonder how many of these parallels are coincidence.
I mean, everybody gets inspired from everybody. Let's be real. Nothing is original anymore.
For sure. For sure.
And even if it wasn't necessarily like her actively thinking that it was like that, somewhere from her subconscious could have pulled it and she realized. Violet's feeling her feels as the group starts to move the conversation into Resson because Imogen and Quinn show up. Imogen's got a split lip and they notice it. And Violet thinks to herself, maybe Xaden's right. If I can't lie to my friends, maybe I should start keeping my distance so I don't get them killed. I was like, damn it, Xaden and Violet. Really? Like, damn you, Xaden, for putting that advice in her head. And damn you, Violet, for thinking it was good advice. These next couple of pages, after toasting to Liam, Xaden appears and Violet goes to talk to him. So they toast to Liam, and I figure we never toasted to Liam. So I'll read this highlight and then we'll do another drink up baddies, not because I'm just a thirsty bitch, but for Liam. This is to Liam, Imogen says, lifting her glass and defying the unwritten rule that we don't speak of the dead cadets after their name is read from the roll. To Liam, I lift mine, and everyone at the table does the same, drinking to him. It's not enough, but it has to be. To Liam.
To Liam.
Alrighty. So in these last 2 pages of this chapter, the word boundary gets tossed around like it means something to these two. And they get stopped by Colonel Atos and Varish on the walk out.
So Violet and Xaden are talking again about keeping secrets and trust and boundaries. And Violet tells him again, I'm not going to sleep with you because I don't trust you. Because you won't give me full disclosure. And Xaden responds, I'll earn your trust as soon as you realize you don't need full disclosure. You only have to have the guts to start asking the questions you actually want answers to. And like, Xaden, what the fuck does that mean? First of all, how is she supposed to know which question? Like, this is the one point where I'm on Violet's side where it feels like he's playing a game. Like, you need to figure out which questions to ask, and then I'll answer them. I don't like that.
I'm wondering if this stems from the conversation after dismounting and landing at Basgayath. She's like, I've had a question since Eratia. And he's like, and you didn't ask? I wonder if that's what started the game. But it definitely feels like there's a game he's playing that she's not aware of the rules, or that there was a game even happening.
Right? And also, does he mean, like... Because he has told her he will tell her anything she wants to know about him, but not, you know, the secrets that he has to keep. So is he specifically talking about, like, you need to figure out what questions about me that you want to know, and then I'll tell you? Like, or is he telling her, like, figure out what questions, like, you can ask about the secrets I have, and I'll decide whether or not to tell you?
I will say, Xaden is somebody who clearly thinks he kind of knows best for everybody sometimes. And I think seeing her in this state, to a certain extent, and this is just me spitballing, but because of how smart her being is a turn on for him, and then hearing that she had questions but didn't say them, knowing that to be inquisitive is her nature, I wonder if this is him in a really toxic roundabout way being like, let me help you find this part of yourself again without having to root yourself in knowledge. Or, I don't know, maybe he's trying to just, like, give her that spark of that happened when she would ask questions, because now that she's at a loss, she hasn't. And maybe he misses that.
Yeah, like trying to encourage her to ask questions again.
But even so, the way he's doing it is backwards.
Not okay.
I don't get it.
Not helping the trust situation.
Not at all. Violet states her boundary of, I don't sleep with men I can't trust. To which then Xaden counters, but then he also says, and we're both allowed to have boundaries. You're not the only one who gets to set the rules in this relationship. I'm like, ironic, seeing as how you just dismissed the boundaries she is trying to reaffirm with you, that she does not sleep with men she doesn't trust. And you said, don't worry about the bed, we'll get there. That's not... That's not heeding her boundary, sir. That's you replacing it with a boundary of your own, or viewing it as non-existent, as a challenge.
Yeah. Don't care for that. But what I will say is I like seeing these like flaws in Xaden, because I feel like he can, because he's the main male character and the main love interest, he can come across as like, he can do no wrong. Like everybody just loves, like reader wise, everybody just loves him. So I like having those things that like, you can still see he's human. He still has his own like problems and things he needs to work on.
Nobody's perfect. I gotta work it again and again till I get it.
Atos then goes on to introduce Major Varish. And he says, Violet, this is your new Vice Commandant, Major Varish. He's here to tighten the ship, as they say. We seem to have gotten a little lax with what we will allow around here. Naturally, the Quadrant's current executive commandant will still see to operations, but Varish's new position only answers to Pancheck. And this is where we have another Harry Potter parallel, because this to me feels so much like Umbridge, when the Minister of Magic like stopped trusting Dumbledore, and so put one of his little spies in there to keep an eye on things and basically run things the way he wanted them to be ran and quote unquote tighten the ship. And the fact that like in Harry Potter, he had given her the authority that she only answers to him, which is basically what I'm getting here, that Varish is only, it straight up says he is only answering to Pancheck.
Also, did you read the epigraph for this chapter?
Yes. Which is another reason why I feel like there is a parallel with Professor Umbridge. Because in the epigraph, it states, after 3 consecutive deaths of prisoners during his interrogation, it is this command's opinion that Major Burton Varish should be reassigned from an active wing until further notice. So, like, he's known to torture people, and that is exactly what
Torture
Professor
them
Umbridge
to
did.
death.
Yeah, maybe not. I don't think she did it to death, but like she definitely tortured children.
And then put him in charge in a college of young adults. It also leads me to believe that Atos isn't the only one, because this sounds like this position is actually higher up technically than Atos is.
Why is he beholden only to Pancheck? Like, if Pancheck doesn't have anything to do with it, why is he the one in charge?
These are the questions that we must ask ourselves as we keep reading.
These are the questions that haunt me.
These are the days of our lives. So chapter 6. In these first 2 pages, Colonel Atos makes sure his threat is clear before leaving with Varish on his heels, and Violet checks in with her dragons after the news of how often she and Xaden can travel for their dragons. So this next highlight was just me being dumb. So I don't understand why Violet reaches out to Andarna just to yell at Andarna for being awake. It says, I reach out for Andarna in case she hasn't drifted off yet. And then when Andarna responds, she's like, you should be sleeping. She's supposed to be settling in for the dreamless sleep. Well, then why are you reaching out, girly pop? Like, let her sleep. I just thought it was so silly that she's like, just checking. Why are you awake? Like, dang, okay. She can't win.
Damn, Violet.
So these next 2 pages, Violet and Xaden say their goodbye while holding 2 different conversations of feet. As Xaden leaves, Rhiannon and squad catch up with some good news. Some bad news, but also mostly good news.
Woo! So Xaden is checking in, like, girl, do you trust me yet? And She's like, I trust you with my life, but that is all. And it says, trust is earned, and he isn't even trying. And I disagree. Like, when she asked him how long had he known that Brandon was alive, he was honest with her. He told her, I've known about it the entire time, like, since his death. Even though, like, she's probably not going to like that answer. Like, that is a very good reason for her to be even more pissed at him. But he was still honest with her. He didn't hide it. He didn't lie. He is, he's showing her. He is trying to give her the answers that he can give her. So I don't think it's fair to say that he's not trying, like, at all. He might not be giving you everything you want, but he is trying. And Violet is reminding Xaden, like, this ain't happening, okay? She says, I have every right to walk right back into the gathering hall and pick whomever I want to warm my bed. And Xaden agrees. You absolutely have every right. But you won't, because you still love me. That would piss me the fuck off.
Don't presume to know how I feel.
Now I have a reason to be angry at Xaden. Like, A, that sounds so fucking arrogant. And like, that is not confidence. That is arrogance. And I am never going to be okay with someone trying to tell another person how they feel or what they'll do. Like, that kind of shit just pisses me off.
We find out in these chapters that he wards her room so she can pull anyone in, including whoever she wants, if she did want to do that. Of all the things Xaden could probably be jealous of, the fact that he's like, if you want to like have a rebound, like you're free to. Not that this is like overriding or giving him. I'm not trying to be like, but look at this makes him good, right? That's not it at all. It's just like, I'm impressed that he's not jealous in that way, because he gives off vibes that he would be, you know?
The fact that now he's like, I said I would do things differently. I'm doing things differently. Like, respecting your choice to...
Behind your back, not to your face.
Yeah, behind your back, respecting your choice that you can have sexual relations with whomever you want, but while still being like, yeah, but you won't.
Yeah. I wonder if he thinks he's being cute.
I know, like, are you is this flirting for you?
Yeah.
Boy?
Honey, you need work if you think that's cute. So I just wanted to point out that Rhiannon's good news was that she is the new squad leader, which we knew she had some aspirations to be in leadership. Back in chapter 33 of Fourth Wing, Rhiannon says, I can almost taste that squad leader designation for next year. And like, look at her
girl, yes you did. Woo!
Meeting her goals, achieving her dreams and shit.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of her. This is just more of the same chapter ending bullshit Rebecca likes to pull at the beginning of a book to make you squirm and uncomfortable and anxious for the rest of the book. Rhiannon, after the squad all comes up, they're like, what's our first order, squad leader? And she's like, live. And I'm just like, well, you doomed them all again. Thanks. Or maybe you specifically doomed the last person to arrive because they maybe didn't hear you to say for them all to live. And who is the last person to arrive? One freshly purple-haired Nadine who does not survive these 12 chapters.
Ruh-roh, Raggy.
I was like, this is a stretch, but I'm calling it. So let's get into our favorites. So back in chapter 1, the first favorite I had, Violet is walking around the Ryerson house, and she thinks there's no perspective, which pretty much feels like a metaphor for my entire life right now. And I just really liked the way this was written. As Violet is listening in on the assembly meeting, she's having these thoughts about Xaden knowing Brennan better than she does, and Taryn butts in. He says, and what would you have done with the knowledge had he shared it? Stop bringing logic into an emotional argument. Taryn is holding up a mirror and Violet is just being sassy right back. She's like, my reflection? No.
Don't want to see that.
I don't recognize who that is in the mirror. Thank you. And then I just really loved this line Xaden has when he essentially announces that they're listening on the assembly meeting. He says, my life is equal to any of theirs, gesturing to them. He's just such a good leader because he views himself as an equal to them. He's not Yeah. So then, this is also just another Xaden line that made me melt when discussing Violet and whether or not she can be trusted. Xaden says, "Decision was simple. She's worth a dozen of me." And my note is just a gif of a melting ice cube with hearts again.
I love it.
And then when Violet finally stands up for herself in the assembly meeting, of course that had to be a favorite. It says, "She is standing right here," I snap, and an unflattering amount of satisfaction courses through me at the number of jaws that drop in front of me. So stop talking about me and try talking to me. A corner of Xaden's mouth rises, and the pride that flashes through his expression is unmistakable. Like, go off, Queen. We're all proud of you, especially
Hell
Xaden.
yeah. Yes.
Especially Xaden.
Okay, my first favorite is in chapter 2, and Violet is just like reflecting on everything that has kind of happened. And she thinks, "I think back to the naive, sheltered girl who crossed the parapet and everything she survived in the crucible of her first year to forge me into the woman I am now." And like, that was, A, beautifully written. B, I personally found this like really relatable in the past year. My life has turned like completely upside down, and I have had to tackle things that I never thought that I would have to deal with. And it has made me into a stronger person and has helped me discover who I am a lot more. So yeah, it just really resonated with me. We have come to my first prediction.
Ooh, tell me about it.
Brennan is talking about Nailin. He kind of drifts off. Nailin, he was, and Violet completes the sentence for him. It says, "Taryn's previous writer," I suggest slowly, wondering if he was more than that to Brennan. My little brain immediately went, gay? Were they gay? Were they lovers? Are they gay?
This is also my theory. I've told you this.
Well, I forgot because I have ADHD. So I think they're gay, especially because in a couple pages when Violet like asks about Brennan's life, he specifically says that he doesn't have a partner. He specifically says partner, not wife, girlfriend, or anything that identifies gender. So it's a possibility.
True. I will say this is a rather common's not the right word, but like a lot of people have had this theory, and so people have asked Rebecca what the relationship was between them, and in an interview she said, and I'm going to quote this probably very inaccurately, so don't quote me quoting Rebecca, but something along the lines of, "You don't do something like that for somebody you don't care for," or something along those lines. Like, she refused to confirm or deny anything, but just that there is something. And I'm like, cool.
Sounds gay.
So yes,
I like it.
I'm gonna perceive it to mean that they are gay.
My next prediction, because after revealing that information, it says, "I absorbed that information with a long breath, wondering what reason Navarre would have to build lures besides using one to kill us in Ressin. The question stands of what is the purpose of the other one then? That was in Jana, that was already smashed." So my sort of theory is that someone high up in the command, likely Colonel Atos, and possibly more than just him, maybe there are a few people, but I think that they are either trying to use the venom, or like you said, I thought at some point like maybe he's working with them, but I think it would make more sense that he's using them, because at least right now he's starting to feel like the big bad. That while the Venom are definitely the most like dangerous antagonist, they still kind of feel like a tool that is being wielded, and I feel like Colonel Atos is the one who's wielding it, and thus that makes him more dangerous.
Maybe. Then when Brendan and Violet are talking about their dad, Brendan quotes his dad saying, "In a world of dragon riders, griffin flyers, and dark wielders," Violet says, "it's the scribes who hold all the power." It's like, damn right.
Violet wonders, as she and Brennan are discussing the Venom and the Wyvern, she asks him, "Do you think Dad knew?" And I have another little somewhat of a prediction / theory. I have an idea here. I think that he probably did know, and that's why he was trying in whatever way he could to like leave messages or like the information for Violet in a way that would still keep her safe, because probably understands that like telling her or his other children would be outright dangerous. So he likely could not tell anyone else except for maybe his wife.
Possible.
So it's like, because I get the feeling that Mama Sorengale I guess we don't have it confirmed that she knows about the venom, but I am assuming she does know about it.
We only know that she's had a dagger on her desk
Exactly.
with the alloy in it.
Yes. So from that information, I am assuming, and with some other things, I am assuming that she does know about it. And so I had a little bit of an idea that like maybe she knew because of their dad. Like they were sharing that information. But now he's gone, so she has to keep this information to herself. So,
well, and I'm confused as to why this questioning seems a bit misleading from Violet, because she got that note from her dad and didn't share that with Brennan. And I'm just like, why wouldn't you share that? I just think if her dad generically would have known that any of her siblings could also know the information, I don't see why he would withhold it from them. And so I don't know why she withheld it. Just from a general, like, my children, plural, should know, not just my Violet should know.
True. Yeah.
But
My Violet.
My Violet.
I have another prediction. Brennan informs Violet that they have a ward stone. However, it doesn't work. He says it's basically a glorified statue because the art of creating new wards is a lost magic anyway. But Violet counters and says just because no one knows how to create new wards today doesn't mean the knowledge can't exist somewhere, like in the archives. That's information we wouldn't have wiped. We would have protected it at all costs, just in case. And I think she's correct. And my little prediction is going to figure out how to create new wards and figure out this old magic, and possibly / probably with help of Jasenia.
So earlier I had talked about Violet being dramatic when expressing just the misery she's in, but I did appreciate this next line that she thinks. Because love at its root is hope. Hope for tomorrow. Hope for what could be. Hope that the someone you've entrusted your everything to will cradle and protect it. And hope that shit is harder to kill than a dragon.
Ugh, powerful.
So this is when they were walking out to see the dragons, and Sigale makes it very clear that she doesn't like Brennan. So Violet says, "Don't take it personally." I say right to her face, she doesn't like anyone but Xaden, and she only tolerates me, though I'm growing on her. Like a tumor. Sigale responds. I'm like, oh, sassy Sigale is back and better than ever.
Yes, I love their banter. I love it. Give me more. I'm hoping we have a lot more of it in this second book. Taryn is trying to prepare Violet for what to expect with Andarna, and he says, I should warn you before she wakes that this is a notoriously perilous age. For her? Is she in danger? No, just everyone around her. There's a reason adolescents don't bond either. They don't have the patience for humans, or elders, or logic. And I am so excited for Teen Andarna. And like, we already got some really good little morsels of her sass and her snark. And I am so pumped.
I wrote, I'm here for teenage Andarna. Wreak havoc, adolescent Andy.
Woo! You.
Also, I love the way Rebecca Soler says this line in the audiobook. I don't know if you've listened to it at all.
Mm-hmm.
But she's like, or logic. Like, it's so sarcastic. It's so good.
It is one of my predictions as well. Because Taryn goes on. He explains, like, she wasn't black when you bonded her, and not even dragons, like, know what their scales are going to mature to. He says, only the eldest of our dens can sense a hatchling's pigment. In fact, 2 more black dragons have hatched in the last year, according to Coda. And I'm wondering if there are suddenly more black dragons because of the Venom's rise in power. So I do have another, like, kind of prediction theory involving Mama Sorrengail. Brennan and Violet are arguing over whether or not they think that Mama Sorrengail would kill Violet. And Brennan says, you don't think she'll kill you? She threw you into the Rider's Quadrant. I have a theory here. I think perhaps Mama Sorrengail has had a secret plan all along for how to, like, battle the Venom. And she knew or theorized that she was going to need Violet to become a rider in order to manifest a signet in order to defeat them. And that's why she pushed her into the Riders Quadrant. I think, like, I don't think she just put her in the Riders Quadrant because, oh, you're Sorengale, all Sorengales are riders. Or, like, Brennan thinks, apparently, that she wants Violet killed.
Well, this is very assumptive of Brennan for Violet not making it. Like, if he thinks that she threw Violet into the Riders Quadrant to kill her, that shows how little faith he had in Violet surviving.
Mm-hmm. And I guess it's ambiguous enough that, like, maybe he doesn't necessarily straight up think she threw you into the Riders Quadrant to kill you, but that she was willing to take that risk at the very least. And yeah, like, clearly she was willing to take that risk, but I don't think it was vindictive. I don't think it was because it's the family way. I think that there is a
reason.
Yeah, I think there's a reason for it. I don't know. I'm starting to come around on Lilith. I think maybe I'm just reading into things way too much, but I don't know, man. I think she's a lot more involved than the information we've been given. And I think because Violet and Brennan's perspectives on her or thoughts of her are so biased that we are led to believe that
unreliable narrators,
that she's more likely to be on, like, Navarre's side than standing up for what's right, kind of thing.
I can see that. Family dynamics are wild, and that's one of the things I love about reading in particular is you can kind of deep dive the nitty-grittiness of family relationships in a way that feels safe and not maybe as visceral as watching it in a movie or on TV or something, you know. Right. So chapter 3. This is more banter between Violet, Taryn, and Andarna as they're flying it before they land at Basgiath. Violet says to Andarna, "I'd watch it," I tell her, biting back a smile. "He might get tired and drop you." "His pride would never allow it," says the dragon who spent 20 minutes refusing to put on her harness. Taryn fires back. "All right, kids, let's not argue."
Peak.
The way Violet is suddenly both mom and dad in this situation.
I love it so much.
I was like, oh, this dynamic is gonna be so fun. And I just loved, so Taryn is a worrywart, like, throughout this entire thing. So he says, "Do not take unnecessary risk." To which Violet's like, "Love you too." And, like, pats his leg and runs away.
I love it.
And then, as they're walking in, Xaden and Violet are talking. And he starts to talk about remembering certain situations that they've been in romantically. She says, "We're walking into what's certainly going to be a trial, if not an execution, and you've got jokes?" Xaden says, "Trust me, not joking." Like, oh, honey, we know. But it's still nice to hear you say it.
Yeah.
Because you want her for her body.
You wanna hold her. You wanna kiss her. And do other things that are naughty.
Yes, exactly.
I also have another little, like, prediction theory going on.
Tell me.
Violet is, like, 99% certain that she cannot trust Dane. But there's that one little percent that tells her, you know, that used to be, that was my best friend, my lifelong friend. Maybe I can still trust him. And she thinks, the 1% that makes me question if Dane knows what was waiting for us at Athbean. And I don't think he knows about the venom, but I do think he knew that there was some sort of trap. Because, train of thought, why does it do that? It just comes to a screeching halt. And now I feel like I'd have to go back to Fourth Ring to read that part. When he's, like, telling Violet not to go with them. Because he told Violet not to go with them in Fourth Wing when they were getting ready for the War Games. And we know that he had stolen her memory of Athbean and assumingly shared that with his father. And that's why he doesn't want her to go with them, because there's a trap. So, like, there's something going on there that I think he knows about. But I don't think he specifically knows that it's venom. I don't think that's something his father would have shared with him.
Fair. I could see Dane essentially being a tattletale, and then his dad being like, Thank you, son. Now go back to your studies. I'm going to connive.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Dane likes to think he knows a lot about what's going on that other people don't know, but like he doesn't know as much as he thinks he does.
So it's while Violet and Xaden are fighting, and Violet says that she will always want the truth. And she says, if the last few weeks have shown you anything, it should be that I don't run from truth, no matter how hard it is or what it costs. Yeah, well, it cost me you, Xaden responds. And I'm just like, ooh. Don't know why that one gets me, but I like that one. Because it's like a real, like, moment of him being vulnerable, I think. And that's why I'm just like, oh, okay. Violet tries to give him an ultimatum and says she'll get busy unfalling for him. To which Xaden says, good luck with that. I tried it for a good 5 months. Let me know how it works out for you. And while this is, again, him not, like, accepting her boundary, it's the fact that he admitted that, like, he had feelings for her for 5 months and tried to deny them and then couldn't. And I'm like, oh, you're admitting to it. I get so, like, flabbergasted by it. Like, you're being toxic, but it's cute.
Stop it, the deadly combination.
How did you know that was my weakness?
I also have another prediction / theory. So they crash the graduation party and they're like, surprise, we're not dead. And it startles Captain Fitzgibbons into dropping the death roll. And his little scribe assistant, Jasenia, gets up to collect it for him. And she also signs, as she does so, that she is glad that Violet is alive. And Violet thinks to herself, does she know what her quadrant is really teaching her? And I don't think she does. However, I think she's going to figure it out. And I think she's going to figure it out on her own. Because Violet is very much like, no, can't tell nobody. I have to distance myself from my friends. Oh no, secrets. So I don't see her like risking that. Especially with her being in the scribe quadrant and not fully trusting the scribes. But yeah, so I think she'll probably find out on her own because Jasenia is a smart lady and spends an awful lot of time in the archives. So, chapter 4, Colonel Atos has been revealed to have completely emptied out the outpost at Athbean, and General Sorengale calls him out on it. He's like, well, it was only for a few days, and you told me the games are at my discretion. And Mama Sorengale responds with, and clearly your discretion lacks common fucking sense. I expect to see you in my office in 30 minutes, Colonel Atos. And I'm just like, ooh, he's in trouble.
I won't do it for audio listeners out there, but I just wrote clap back mama and I put the clap emoji in between each one. So when Weasel McWeaselster tells Violet she's a disappointment, Xaden butts in. He's like, stop. Xaden orders, you gambled and you lost. You can't expose what you think the truth is without, well, exposing it, can you? A cruel smile tilts Xaden's lips. But personally, I think this is all easily solved by a missive to General Melgren. Surely he saw the outcome of our battle with the Griffins. And my note is just the gif of like a house on fire and a little girl just like smiling creepily back at the camera like, I definitely did that. I was just like, you got him there and you got him good.
After they have been dismissed, it is time to handle the other Atos. And Violet says, I can handle Dane. A swift kick to the balls wouldn't be uncalled for, would it? I'll just do it, Vi. Do it. Do it. Do it. Kick him.
Kick him.
Kick her, sir.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. My cousin Izzy, sir, keeled over one day mid-mango. Stress, it's a killer, sir.
I give her a ha and a hi and a kicker, sir.
And a kicker, sir.
So Violet might not actually kick Dane in the balls, but she does tell him not to fucking come near her ever again. And Xaden backs her up and says she made her choice, and it wasn't you. It will never be you. I know it. She knows it. The whole quadrant knows it. And oh my gosh, the public shaming of Dane Atos. I put Xaden in my notes. That's not supposed to say that.
The public shaming of Xaden Ryerson.
No. The public shaming of Dane Atos. So juicy. Think of the gossip. Think of what the entire quadrant will be talking about in the next 5 days when they have nothing to do but party. The hottest of tea.
My favorite part of the same encounter is essentially Xaden giving Violet agency to Dane's face. Dane first says, "What else? You going to threaten to kill me, Ryerson?" "No. Why should I, when Sorengale is perfectly capable of doing that herself? She doesn't want you to touch her. Pretty sure everyone in the quadrant heard her. That should be enough for you to keep your hands to yourself." And I just put a gif of Dwight Schrute from The Office clapping slowly. Because not only is this showing that while Xaden is standing up for Violet, Violet can more than handle herself. And not only that, but she told you explicitly she doesn't want to be touched. And if you didn't hear that, everybody else around you sure did. So don't fucking do jack shit. Chapter 5. I just needed to highlight the squad giving Violet shit when she tries to even deny that her and Xaden are a thing. Because it made me laugh so hard. So Rhiannon starts it off. She says, "Like you'll be using every second you can get with a certain Lieutenant Ryerson." My liquor-flushed cheeks heat even more. I'm not. A resounding boo sounds around the table. "Pretty much everyone saw you show up to formation in his flight jacket before War Games," Nadine says. "And after this morning's display, please."
Even Nadine is giving her shit.
Yeah. I just love it. Like, you can't even try to deny it at this point, Violet. I mean, you're gonna, but you can't.
So the squad is now kind of turning towards, so what happened, y'all? Y'all saw combat. And Violet is very much like, doesn't want to talk about it. And Imogen kind of butts in and says, "You want the truth? If it wasn't for Ryerson and Sorengale, we'd all be dead." And Violet thinks it's the closest thing to a compliment she's ever given me. Like, you see? They are friends. She love her. That's my girl.
By
You
giving
can't
her
deny
something
it.
that could possibly be a compliment.
You know what? She might be hard and crispy and cold on the outside, but she has a gooey, melty, warm heart. She just doesn't know how to show it. This is the only way she knows how. By sort of giving a compliment.
Or you're just reading a lot into it.
Yes. Probably. I don't care. But eventually, Xaden makes his way, into the vicinity and gestures for Violet to come talk to him. So she gets up and she says, "I'll be right back." "I certainly hope not," Riddick mutters, "or you'll destroy all my fantasies when it comes to that one." But like, Riddick, you horny little fuck. You are definitely my son. Like,
Yeah.
I see the family resemblance. That's my son.
I also had highlighted this one, and my note was, "Riddick, you horn dog, keep it in your pants for 1 second." But also the fact that he obviously fantasizes about saying.
Oh, yes. Oh my God. I love it.
So then, as she's approaching Xaden, she compliments him, and he's like, "You're drunk, aren't you?" Violet says, "I'm pleasantly fuddled, but not entirely sloshed." And I just think this is such a funny way to describe being drunk.
Yes.
And
I
also,
loved that.
the graphic audio version of it is think the Legia serum or whatever it was she had. It's very similar to that performance.
Even just the audiobook narration was like such a good job with that line.
Yeah.
With so many of these lines was great. So as they're saying goodbye, and Colonel Atos comes and interrupts and threatens them not so very subtly. And he tells Aiden, "You know what? I was worried about our conversation earlier until I remembered something." He says, "Secrets make for poor leverage. They die with the people who keep them." That is just such a great villain line.
So my next favorite is also a shared highlight. but it's Andarna's retort when Violet reaches out to her just to see if she's still awake. In regards to Taryn, I believe this is after finding out that they have to alternate and go 7 days without seeing each other between the mated dragons. And Andarna says, "You've lost all touch with reality if you think I'm getting close to him right now. He's in a mood." And I just liked this banter. First of all, I don't know if we stated it earlier when we were talking about this chapter, but I'm so impressed with the fact that they were able to keep 2 conversations going at once. I can barely keep one half the time. So the fact that they had 2 different conversations going, granted, Violet is having a harder time because she's drunk.
It's true, even more impressive.
Yeah. And he's doing most of the like double talking. She only ever responds out loud to what he says out loud. But she says, "Think of all the spare time you'll have without having to constantly train me on the mat. I'd much rather have you under me on the mat than spare time." Zayden.
You know what I mean?
You know what I mean?
You know what I mean?
Yeah, let's get into our song dedications. So for chapter 1, I picked Revolution by Bishop Briggs. This song's mix of militaristic beat and dazed feel evoke Violet's state of being. She's aware in one sense of the truth that was previously hidden from her, but her senses being dulled from the shock of it all. She's barely coping well enough to keep one foot in front of the other, let alone able to process her feelings. But Violet, above all else, will not go down without a fight. Some standout lyrics are, "Hard as it is to stay alive, you give and you take all of my time. Leaning my face on the sink, I don't know what to think. I could drink, I could smoke, I don't know where to go. When the going is tough and I'm all alone. Choosing to live in a blurrier world, I got comfortable living with hurt. Didn't think it'd get worse, but it did, and it made my head go. Welcome to my revolution. Got my eyes wide open and my heart's half broken. Welcome to my revolution. Got the storm clouds coming, you won't see me running. Now I won't let the bastards get me down."
Like it. For chapter 1, I chose Bad Moon Rising by Creedence Clearwater Revival.
Good song.
The revolution, this whole revolution thing isn't going super great. And things are about to get real rough for, I mean, not only Violet, everybody. But the lyrics that I really equated to this was, "I see earthquakes and lightning. I see bad times today. I know the end is coming soon. Hope you are quite prepared to die. Looks like we're in for nasty weather." You damn right.
So chapter 2, I picked Die For Me by Halsey. Lies and heartbreak are all Violet can discern at the moment when it comes to Zayden. All she wants to discern. Some standout lyrics were, "Devil's front door and I'm banging on the line. If I said I wanted an answer, I'd be lying. I'd be lying. Said you'd die for me, you'd die for me, you'd die for me. But you lied to me, you lied to me, you lied to me."
I picked Superboy and the Invisible Girl from the musical Next to Normal. Because for me, it's very much like how I pictured Brennan and Violet's relationship. Growing up, because I feel like she has kind of alluded to that in the past, that he was kind of the rock star of the family and they lived in his shadow. But then especially once he died, especially like after he died, it seemed to get, kind of worse. It's really hard to live in the shadow of a dead sibling.
Mm-hmm.
The lyrics that stuck out to me: "Superboy and the Invisible Girl, everything a kid ought to be. He's immortal, forever alive, then there's me. He's the one you wish would appear. He's your hero, your savior, your son. He's not here. I am here."
That song used to make me cry so hard.
Every song in that musical makes me cry. Some more than others. So good, though. It's one of my favorites.
So chapter 3, I picked Secrets and Lies by Ruel. Still don't know how to say this artist's name. I'm sorry. But Zayden and Violet find time to talk, and it turns out they weren't on the same page. Have you caught on to the theme of this book yet? Hint, hint, it's the title of the song. Song I've actually seen Rebecca Yarros use on social posts regarding Iron Flame quite a bit, so what better song to dedicate to this? What song to better dedicate to this chapter than one... What am I even saying in this sentence? So what better song to dedicate than this song to the chapter that holds their first attempt at talking since Fourth Wing. I don't know what I was on when I wrote that. But some standout lyrics were, "You got a cold, cold heart. Do you feel it all? You build a house of cards, but it's gonna fall. You think I don't see who you really are. I got news coming. I've seen it all from the start. I know all your secrets. I know all your lies. I know where you keep 'em, buried deep inside. No, you can't hide your secrets and lies."
The song I chose is Empty Space by The Story So Far. And I feel like there are a couple of parts of this song that you can see as like part of it from Violet's point of view and then part of it from Xaden's point of view. So from Violet's point of view, the lyrics that stand out for me are, "All questions aside, I asked and you lied, and now my hands are tied." Versus Xaden's point of view, "All I can show is absence from your life that I can't control. It's all that I get right. Keep paying the toll. I know that it seems like I'm always upset." That's all I had to say.
So chapter 4, I picked Seven Devils by Florence and the Machine. Walking into graduation must feel like walking into a den of vipers. No one can be trusted. The song gives off the anxious fear vibes down perfect. But also knowing deep down that you can be and are just as, if not more dangerous than any of these snakes. How I was able to get that sentence down, but not the one in the previous song, the world will never know. Some standout lyrics I had for this song are, "Holy water cannot help you now. See, I've come to burn your kingdom down." That's the tagline of Iron Flame, burn it down. And "No rivers and no lakes can put the fire out. I'm going to raise the stakes. I'm going to smoke you out. 7 devils all around me. 7 devils in my house. See, they were there when I woke up this morning, and I'll be dead before the day is done."
I went a little bit more basic, and I chose Good Riddance, Time of Your Life by Green Day because I'm sorry, but I cannot have a graduation scene without thinking about this song. It is the classic graduation song, and that is all I could hear in my head, despite the fact that it had very little to do with the actual graduation. There wasn't much ceremony to it, but I don't care. I'm inserting some ceremony.
So chapter 5, I picked Ghost Town by Leto and Neoni. Again, I don't know how to say this one either. I even tried looking this one up, I think the last time I used one of their songs, and they never pronounced their name in any of their Instagram videos, and I gave up. But this song feels like the end of a party when you haven't really been feeling it and you get too into your feels. Everyone may be partying around Violet, but she can't allow herself to participate fully with all the ghosts haunting her. Ghosts of friends who have passed, and the words she can't say to friends who are still here. Some standout lyrics were, "I cannot sleep, I cannot see. It's getting harder and harder to breathe. 6 feet buried beneath, and all dust is following me. Grip my teeth, shut my mouth. I've been feeling down, sick and tired of feeling like I'm living in a ghost town."
I chose When the Party's Over by Billie Eilish because Xaden and Violet are having kind of a weird, difficult time in their relationship where they're kind of together, but they're kind of not. And Violet still can't trust Xaden, so in her eyes, they cannot have a relationship. And a few of the lines that stuck out to me were, "Don't you know I'm no good for you? I've learned to lose, you can't afford to. And nothing ever stops you leaving."
I love the song.
I do too. The whole vibe of the song is like mournful and longing, and it's so good.
So chapter 6, I picked Be Kind with Halsey, the stripped version by Marshmello. And this is just the song that I kind of hear as Violet and Xaden are saying goodbye. Also, Rebecca Yarros is a huge Halsey fan, so I couldn't help it put multiple Halsey songs in here. I think they just recently saw Halsey in concert.
Nice.
So standout lyrics were, wanna believe that you don't have a bad bone in your body. Wanna believe that even when you're stone cold, you're sorry. I don't know why you hide from the one and close your eyes to the one, mess up and lie to the one that you love. When you know you can cry to the one, always confide in the one, you can be kind to the one that you love.
I like that. I chose Almost Lover by A Fine Frenzy. Kind of still going with the previous song of like, they're kind of together, but they're kind of not. And Violet is still very much feeling hurt, and she will not take Xaden back because of like their trust issue. But she does, like, she acknowledges that she still has feelings for him. It's not just the alcohol. So the lyrics that stood out to me were, "Goodbye, my almost lover. Goodbye, my hopeless dream. I'm trying not to think about you. Can't you just let me be? So long, my luckless romance. My back is turned on you. Should have known you'd bring me heartache. Almost lovers always do."
Now I'm just singing it in my head.
Yeah. Just a couple sad songs to end the night.
Yeah, you know.
It's
Just getting in our feels a little bit.
just a little. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this week's episode.
We're so excited to be on this journey with you.
Join us for episode 1, part 2, as we discuss chapters 7 through 12 of Iron Flame.
To find the chapter breakdown and more content, follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Bound to Be Bad Podcast.
Know a fellow book baddie who can't get enough of the Empyrean series either? Share us with a friend to give them something to hold on to while we all collectively hold our breath and patiently wait for Book 4's release.
We'll be right there with you. And we hope to see you soon. Bye.
Bye!
My makeup is starting to burn.
Oh, that's not good.
Making my eye water real bad.
Yeah.
Looking like I'm
Then
crying
let's-
over here.
I was gonna say, are you okay? Did something happen?
No, just makeup in my eyeball, I think. And then Liam died.
For real, though.
No, for real though. Like he died. For real.
Yeah. And it was genuinely upsetting. And I genuinely cried. So
I did too.